Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I feel like the odd one out over here. We've had like tech, more tech all the way through, and here I am talking about the touchy-feely stuff. So bear with me. I know it's late in the day, but I do have. Do you have a mic that I could use? Just don't want to get stuck over here, if you don't mind. But I'll get started anyway, so we don't waste any time. So, my name is Dr. Vincent. I'm the principal at Fairview International School. And thank you very much for having me here today. I'd like to share with you something of great importance to myself, and I'm pretty sure a lot of us in our international schools.
Hello.
Thank you. I believe that we are at a pivotal moment right now. A moment that demands our attention and our compassion and our action. There is a silent killer that's moving among us now. One that strikes right at the heart of our society. A mental wellness epidemic. In 2020 to 2022, the rate of increase of youth mental health challenges, or the incidence of mental health incidents, increased from 21.5% in Singapore up to 25%. Adults were not spared. In the same 2 years, they went from 13 to 17% as well. In the years from 2009 all the way up to 2015, the rate of mental health challenges in youth in the US rose by over 60%. In 2022, the NPR shared that they are thoroughly confirmed, that they're very convinced that at least half of the schools in the US are overwhelmed because they cannot cope with the volume of mental health challenges that they are facing. And only 3 days ago, the Massachusetts Education Secretary, Patrick, he's the guy on the bottom left down there, bottom right, he declared, we have no mental health strategy at all. These aren't just numbers or statistics about some stuff happening far across the world. These numbers represent a global trend, and a trend that is arriving and has already arrived on our doorstep. Singapore is just across the straits. In my previous life, I was a psychiatry registrar. I wasn't always a teacher. Been a teacher for 14 years, but before that, I was training to be a psychiatry registrar. Now, if anybody doesn't know the difference between a psychiatrist and a psychologist, I'll give you the easiest one to understand. The psychologist is the very nice guy that sits you on a couch and talks to you. The psychiatrist is the one that gives you drugs, sticks electrodes in your head, and fries your brain. That was my job. I was very good at what I did. But here's the problem, right? Imagine that this here is a vase. It's glass. It's just exactly the way I need it. When I saw, and in psychiatry, our bread and butter is depression. It's nearly 80% of our caseload. When I saw a depressed patient, it's like life knocked this guy off the table, on the floor, and then it breaks. And then with all of my amazing psychiatry techniques and super glue, I try and glue him together again. But the problem with what I do is, it's never quite the same. There's always a crack somewhere. And the thing is, I know that when life knocks him over, and it inevitably will, he's not going to break this time. He's going to shatter. And there is nothing that I can do about it. Knowing this, I shifted my direction over from fixing broken people to building children. Now that we understand that there is an issue, and we understand the gravity of the problem facing us, it's important that we work towards solutions. And with that, I'm going to offer you 3 solutions. 3 things that worked in my environment, and I hope that you can take back. And I'd be happy to share with you any of these in more detail after this, if you'd like to find out. The first one, very interesting statement. I remember hearing this for the first time from Brené Brown. What gets measured gets done. In mental wellness, we need to make sure that our children are mentally well, that their mental well-being is taken care of. We need to know what's going on. We need to monitor and measure it. If you're trying to lose weight, right? I want to lose 10 kilograms in 6 months. And the only time I measured myself was every 6 months. I'm not going to lose weight at all because I'll just talk about it in the first day and then I'll forget it until the 6-month point when I'll check myself and I'll obviously fail. The only way for me to know that I'm going to lose weight, I need to get on those scales and stare at myself every single day. 300 grams, another 300 grams. That's how you win the war. You need to keep your finger on the pulse. It is not, but the problem in schools, do we measure mental wellness? It is not acceptable to use proxies like between last year and this year, my counselors have reported a reduced number of cases. Or my parents at the PTA said that all their kids are happy. Or my teachers tell me that their kids are happy. These are not sufficient measures of mental wellness in our schools. Let me give you an example of why this is a problem. Let's just say I have my wife. I have a wife and 4 boys. My wife here. And I have my mother-in-law. Okay? I give a gift to my wife. Okay? Whose opinion about that gift really matters between the 3 of us? My opinion, my wife's opinion, or my mother-in-law's opinion? Hands up for people who think my opinion actually mattered in the first place. No, I think 20 years of marriage, I know that my opinion never mattered to start with. My mother-in-law's opinion, on the other hand, very, very important. But if you're listening carefully, not actually the opinion that matters. The only opinion who really matters in this 3-way conversation is my wife. In the same way, when we give the gift of education to our children, when we give the gift of character building, whatever it is, the only opinion that matters, it isn't the teacher, it isn't the parent, it's whether your kids feel they're well or not. You can say whatever you want, thinking they're well, but it just doesn't matter. We need to ask our kids, and we need to ask them directly, comprehensively, and regularly. Ergo, enter prosper. In 2015, a lady called Tony Noble from Australia built this framework. It's a mental wellness framework designed for international schools. For schools, not international schools, for schools. There are other mental wellness frameworks, but they're not designed for schools. And this framework is basically a questionnaire. And it allows a child to share their opinion across 7 key areas. Things like, you can see the alphabets over there. The acronyms are easy to understand. How do I feel about the nature of my relationships? I don't have any best friends. Do I know where my purpose is? Do I feel very resilient or positive? We've been using this framework in our school for the last 3 years to measure mental wellness since the pandemic came out. And I can comfortably say that we are well on our way to producing a paper that confirms the positive relationship between a child that scores well on the Prosper Framework Survey and academic achievement. It's kind of like growing a plant, okay? Has anybody here managed to keep a plant alive for more than 2 weeks? Any here gardeners? So I am one of those people that kills plants for fun. Like I buy 3-4 plants, they all die on me. I don't know what I do. I try my best, but they always die. And somebody told me you need 4 elements to keep a plant alive. You need that nitrogen, that phosphorus, and I can't remember the other 2. That's why they die. And they told me, and this should really work for you then. If you don't know what element your plant needs and you blast it with a general all-purpose fertilizer, at best your plant's not going to do very well. At worst, you'll kill it. Is that correct? Yeah, and that's what I did. I killed my plants regularly. What this survey allows us to do, and think of the plant analogy now, is it allows us to know exactly what our children need so that our effort, and it is precious effort, can be applied in a targeted and impactful way. I'm going to share with you the second thing that we did. Adopt a proactive stance. Now, I came from the mental health world, so I know this thing really well. And it's really one of the worst things I've seen. The narrative of mental health and student welfare. Now, student welfare is a very specific word referring to psychologists and counselors. And mental health is psychiatrists and hospitals. The world of mental health and student welfare has typically been a reactive one, managing distressing situations. You get broken, we come fix you. You get broken, we come fix you. But let's take the analogy of a car. We all know, if you drive your car around, and this car is meant to last for maybe 30 years or so, and you only took your car into the workshop every time it broke down or exploded in a ball of fire, your car would last, 2 years or something. We send our cars in for servicing to change the oil, change the parts, upgrade the computers. It's no-brainer. No, all of us know this. But what are we doing in schools? I'll tell you. We take a child, we stick them into the classroom, they get life stresses thrown at them, they get stressed out, they get broken, we send them to the counselors to hopefully fix them. When we think they're fixed enough, we send them back into the world again, they get broken, they go into the counselors again, they get fixed again, and then we wonder, why the heck are they mentally depressed? You see, we know what we do with our cars. Why aren't we doing it with the kids? Why are we playing the reactive game with our kids? At our school, I've been fighting to do this ever since I entered education. 7 years ago, we started on a crazy idea. Is it possible to turn this thing around? We started putting our kids in groups of 5 to 7. This is, by the way, every child in the school is part of this program, yeah? Nobody left out, except the ones below year 4. They're too young for this. We teach them how to set 3 goals, simple stuff. Personal, academic, and relationship. Then we move on to the next step. Do you know how to do a personal SWOT analysis? Do you know how to discover your strengths? Do you know how to use the VIA Strengths Finder? Do you know how to do a gap analysis? Do you know how to speak about the highest and lowest emotions and why they are significant to you? Every 2 weeks we meet, by the way. Do you know how to hold space and speak non-judgmentally so when others share their emotions, you can hold them tenderly and not accuse them and make them feel unsafe? We teach them all of these things every 2 weeks. What's happened? Over 2,000 plus participants. I've lost count now. We've done lots of beautiful research. 76% of my children have achieved 2 out of their 3 goals every time they go into the program, which recycles every 6 months. It refreshes. And of that 76% of children, all of that 76 experience increases in English, math, and science of 10% each without touching a textbook. Now, this is absolutely amazing because of the number of friends that I know who haven't achieved a single goal in the last 10 years. New Year's Day, I want to quit smoking next year. New Year's Day, I want to quit smoking. You know these guys. So many. President Nixon, I believe, is the one that said, you cannot win a war. I'm not sure whether I should say it. I don't know whether the context is right, but he said, you can't win a war by playing on the defensive. You can't. You can't win the mental wellness war by playing on the defensive. You just can't. It doesn't work. It's time to shift our stance to the offensive. It's time to change the way we look at things. It is time to build children up, not fix broken ones. And my third recommendation for you, if you're going to walk into this arena, I meet many teachers, new and veteran in my line of work. I teach, I am a principal as well. And all of them tell me their why of teaching. They all say, they never say it's an academic thing, by the way. They never say, I want to be a teacher because I want to help kids get 7 A's. They don't say that. They always say, I want to teach because I want kids to believe in themselves. Because I had a teacher like that. I want kids to smile again. I want them to see wonder when I speak about science. That's what I want, why I'm in teaching. And I see so many of these amazing, hardworking, passionate teachers working alone. Now in hospital, I used to have case study meetings every week. And the case study meetings, basically, doctors would come out with all the other consultants in the hospital, and we'd share our challenging case, and we'd say, I don't know how to deal with this. Can I get some ideas? Everybody, ideas. And all the consultants would throw their ideas at us and say, have you tried this? Have you thought of this? Have you tried this? And then we'd collaborate, we'd think, and we'd talk, and we'd share. We'd collaborate in our hospitals, across departments, with other hospitals, across the country. There was no barrier to the conversation. Yet, I see very little of this collaboration in education. How many teachers are here? How many times does a teacher go to meet other teachers? Be it in a conference, a job alike, a workshop, I don't know what. It just doesn't happen. Why? Most of the schools here are private international schools in Malaysia. I think there's an obvious reason why. I'll allude to that in a second. At Fairview, we have a university, and it's a specific teaching university. That's what we focus on. We don't do other things like math or, I don't know, humanities and the like. We teach teachers how to teach. That's what we do. And we are building an alliance of schools that are committed to good quality education. And this part's very specific. We're committed to schools. We want to build an alliance of schools that are committed to education that goes beyond the classroom. Schools that are brave enough to say, yes, the exam paper is not everything and we're willing to move forward. Schools that do not care whether your father or mother can drive you to school in a BMW. Schools that do not have skin color as a prerequisite for coming in. We want to build an alliance that learns together, that shares best practices together, that isn't afraid of innovation. While it is important that our individual educational institutions are financially viable, our primary duty as educators is to our children. They are the reason why we stepped foot in the classroom in the first place. They are our why, and we must stay true to our why. We need to champion collaboration over competition. We need to champion coming together instead of division, unity. We need to stop being afraid of them stealing my kids or stealing my teachers. I'll put it so bluntly. And we need to focus on what truly matters to us. There's only one thing. We didn't come there for the salary. It's not that great. We came there for the kids. And that's what we need to focus on and come together and learn. In our journey as educators and guardians of the future, there is a looming shadow of mental health challenges that threatens the very potential of our youth. Academic success without mental well-being it just promises our youth a hollow victory, one that later surprises your children with unexpected landmines. It's a deception, and it doesn't work. Our role in all of this is clear. We are not just instructors telling people what to do. We are gardeners. And like any good gardener preparing fertile soil, we need to make sure that we cultivate the right environment for our children to thrive both academically and emotionally. It's not about test-taking techniques or more drilling or more worksheets. This is not the way forward. It's about creating the right conditions for success. Conditions like perseverance, positivity, amazing relationships. I share with you today a call for action, a call to take action in your schools. It is time for us to rise up and deal with this menace and inspire a new generation that's able to succeed in their future, both academically and emotionally. Thank you very much.